With the help of the Almighty, I pray to the Almighty to bestow upon me His truth, His wisdom, that I may be worthy of conveying His message, and so shall sanctify His name and bring peace to the world. I thank many the distinguished congregation for giving me precious time just for a brief few words. Of course, it's a very big subject, and you can't really do justice to it in a few minutes, but the issue here, I just want to shed light, and that to give the opportunity, we have a website, we have cards, and we're going to be by AMP convention. We're going to have a booth over there, and anybody can go to our site and they can follow up on this issue. The world thinks that there is a very deep and long and tragic conflict between Jews and Muslims, between the Jewish religion and Islam, and that's what the issue that's playing out in occupied Palestine. And in truth, it's just totally contrary to what the real truth is, because Jewish people have suffered for 2,000 years. We've been spread around the world since the destruction of King Solomon's temple, and then the Second Temple, and actually there was the Inquisition hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and the Crusades, and it was the Muslim countries actually that embraced the Jews and took them in. We all believe in one God. Yes, we have a distinctly different religion, but we all believe that there's one God, and we were able to coexist. We lived. And when Jews were suffering in Europe and they were being burnt at the stake, were thrown out, driven from their land, from their homes throughout Europe, it was the Muslim lands, it was the Ottoman Empire, different Sullivan, many different Arab and Muslim leaders who took in the Jews. And we actually prospered and flourished. Our greatest rabbis, even though we were distinctly Jewish, we were very clearly practicing the Jewish religion. We were able to live in the same courtyards as Muslim people. We shared everything. We did business together. We babysat each other's children, the most precious objects we took, because we were never considered a threat one to the other. We were considered loyal friends. The concept of Zionism is what this conflict is about, is that the movement started a mere 150 years ago with something called Zionism. Zionism was started by basically non-religious Jews. They were Jews who unfortunately were sinners, people who strayed from the religion, who detested the religion, and they decided that they wanted to have the cake and eat it. They wanted to have the name that they're doing something legitimate, that they should be respected, that they shouldn't be looked at as sinners. So they wanted to have their nationalist movement and a national home, everything that goes along with a nationalist home, an army, a military, and that they should be considered the most forward-thinking and so forth. So they have they're proud of the Nobel Prize winners, the Olympic teams, and all these things. Although they're not so greatly successful, but whatever it may be, they wanted to have. They should be considered a nation amongst the nations, and therefore they didn't want to be looked at as somebody who's people who revolt against the old, their parents and so forth. So they grabbed the name, they hijacked, they took the name Judaism, ignoring what all the rabbinical authorities stood in opposition to what they're doing. And even though the Torah is clear, states that we're not allowed to kill, we're not allowed to steal, we have to show gratitude for what's been done good to us, on top of just for any human being that we're not allowed to steal. But for the Muslim and the people around the world and the Arab people, we have a special requirement, obligation to show gratitude. But they ignored all of this, and they reinvented history, and they started saying that it's the Muslims who hate the Jews because of our religion, and that the victims, the Palestinian people, are the villains, and these Zionists are the victims of anti-Semitism, they called it, even though, again, Semitism is including Muslims and so forth. But they used that, and they had the mic in their hand for 50 years or more, 60 or 70, over 60 years. Well, 80 years, as long as there was a microphone, there was all the new technology, radio, television, and they went around broadcasting in the history that there's a conflict of religions. Our great rabbis pleaded with their students that we should go around the world and inform the world that we cry, we hurt about this Nakba. We do not accept the occupation, even 1 inch of this occupation. 1 inch of the existence of the Zionist state of Israel is, to us Jews, is unacceptable. It is not Jewish. Because we are Jews, we oppose it. From day one, and again, I invite you to look at our site, and you'll see that the rabbis from day one, the chief rabbis of Palestine, met with King of Transjordan, and they put advertisements in Arab papers. When the United Nations sent a delegation in 1947, a year before they decided to create the state, the chief rabbi at the time of, again, nothing to do with the Israeli rabbinate or their chief rabbis. It's all window dressing, a farce that they use to legitimize their occupation, to make it look halal, kosher, but it's not. But there is a rabbinate, there is a chief rabbi, there is a whole community, hundreds of thousands of Jews are living under the occupation. And that chief rabbi in 1947 pleaded with the United Nations, it's the United Nations documents, and he said, I'm quoting him, "We furthermore wish to express our definite opposition to a Jewish state in any part of Palestine." This was the chief rabbi of Palestine. We don't want it. And we've been standing in the streets of Jerusalem. Hundreds of thousands of Jews. Again, go to our site. I have some pictures here, maybe outside, people who want to see afterwards. I don't want to hold up. We have hundreds of thousands of Jews demonstrating constantly in the streets of Jerusalem. They get in New York, the largest religious Jewish community is right across from Manhattan. So anybody goes to Manhattan, they can see Williamsburg, Brooklyn. You will see it's the largest concentration of religious Jews. There's not one single Israeli flag because we all, because of our religion, because we're truly practicing the religion, we cannot accept such a concept of occupying, of stealing, of killing. Ironically, it's even forbidden for the Jews, since the destruction of the temple 2,000 years ago, we are forbidden, we are under oath by God to make a Jewish state. We're not allowed to have any Jewish concept of sovereignty, because we believe one day, because it's like a medicine God gives us to break our haughtiness, and also that we should be spread amongst the nations to show, ideally, how a person should serve God. Not to convert people to Judaism, just that how a person should serve God, to be a light to the nations. Again, time doesn't permit, but Judaism discourages conversion to Judaism. We say that every person who believes in the 7 commandments of Noah, that you should believe in one God, not to worship idol, not to kill, not to steal, not to commit adultery, to have a court system. You'll do that, you will inherit the world to come. Judaism has other private, much different obligations of 630 commandments, to keep Sabbath, kosher, many, many things. So we don't want a person to get involved, and if they won't hold the Torah, then they'll be sinners. So we discourage person from conversions. But we believe that every human being who believes in these commandments that was given to God, to Moses, the Torah, will inherit the world to come. And that the point is that ultimately we pray and yearn for the day that one day God, with his compassion, who's almighty, will reveal his glory throughout the world, that all humanity will serve God in harmony. That's what the Jewish prayer, if you look at a Jewish prayer, because that's what we start with, we end with, we have one issue, to glorify God. We believe by being good human beings, by practicing our religion, we glorify God. And the pinnacle, the greatest thing will happen, that ultimately, one day God will reveal his glory throughout the world. All humanity will serve God together in peace and harmony. So we yearn and pray for that. That's what the Zionists use, this concept that every Jew yearns about. And although this concept alone explains that we are forbidden to try and create our own state. It's forbidden for us because we are in exile by God. That's part of this deal that God has with us. But they take the lack of knowledge amongst the Christians, the evangelistic Christians, amongst the Jewish people who are not religious, that these Jews don't know their religion. They use this and they play on their emotions. They say, you suffered, we're in exile 2,000 years, and now we have back the land. So they use this lack of knowledge. It's another evil, that a crime that they're doing by using the Judaism, by waving the Star of David, by using the name Israel, which is Jacob in the Torah. Using our name is another crime of this Nakba, of this great, this tragic, this colossal crime of the occupation. And of course, the crime of occupying and stealing and killing and all the suffering that's happening to the Palestinians. And likewise, the people don't know, but the Jewish people, because we refuse to recognize the state, they get brutally beaten in the streets of Jerusalem and in occupied Palestine. Every boy and girl to 17 becomes a criminal because we refuse to serve in their mandatory military service. So you can see the boys and girls who turn 17, they get arrested. And again, children, they get beaten, old men get beaten, simply because we stand on the streets, we don't carry guns. We demonstrate against the state of Israel because we refuse to recognize its legitimacy. And so that's what we're here just in short to explain to our brothers and sisters, that you should know that there are Jews, the ones who are true to the religion. We hurt, we cry, we are humiliated and frustrated what is being done in our name, but it's not Judaism. And we, every day, we try, many of us go out and demonstrate with the Palestinian people. We go out, we go around the world and talk and try to let people know. Money, hundreds of thousands would be going out, but they're afraid because of the viciousness of the Zionists. We get brutally attacked, both bodily, physically, especially in Palestine, but even around the world. We get threats, life and death threats, our chief rabbis, all of us. So that's why they're not out on the street. But our hearts are with you, and we will one day, and we urge first of all everybody to never to be silent. You should be speaking for the people of Palestine, because it's not anti-Semitism, obviously you know that, and you should take courage from know that if every people attack you as being anti-Semitic, say, look, the very religious communities in Al-Quds, in Jerusalem, in London, invariably, they're anti-Zionist, so it's nothing to do with anti-Semitism, first of all. And there is, at the end of the day, there's a God who's the Almighty. We have to stand up for what's righteous. So stand up, speak up, urge the politicians that they should stop being intimidated and harassed by the Zionist lobbies, and we should give the Palestinians their rights, their freedom, their total freedom, not only the rights and part of the land. There should be a totally free Palestine. And the first thing is to pray to God that with His compassion He should bring about this peace, speedily and peacefully, like all the other evils of the world throughout the generations disappear, that this should end speedily and peacefully. And we hope that one day together we'll be able to celebrate both a free Palestine and that we should ultimately have the honor, the pleasure that we should live and see soon the revelation of God, where all humanity will serve Him in peace and harmony. Amen. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you.